Hey everybody, welcome. It's Tim Schur, and today I'm going to talk about how to get out of a rut, how to boost your productivity, and ways that you can start to create momentum, especially when it feels like nothing is going right for you. So it seems like most of the people that I'm talking to these days, no matter what level of the game they're playing at, people that are uh, making $1 million a year with their business, and then people who are just trying to make their mortgage payment this month, and everybody in between, right? Everybody seems to be having this existential crisis, this stress, this incredible pressure, these waves of panic that we're having because the landscape keeps changing. The business landscape keeps changing. The world has so much uncertainty in it. And the interesting thing is that it's always this way, right? There's always uncertainty in the world. There's always a lack of clarity about what's going to happen next. And sometimes we can have our business going really well, but then there's a health challenge, or somebody in the family gets in a car accident, right? Or maybe you're doing well with your health, but you can't figure out how to get another client to save your life, right? And so your finances are in jeopardy, right? There's always something. Maybe your finances are good and your health is good, but your marriage is on the rocks, and you're just continually fighting with your spouse, and worried about it ending up in a divorce. I mean, there's so many pressures all the time. And so, how do you keep going? How do you get yourself to keep going? Because a lot of people that reach out to me for coaching and to go through our breaking through programs are saying the same thing. I'm struggling with self doubt. I'm struggling with procrastination. I can't seem to get myself off the couch. I know I need to do something. I know I need to take action, but I just can't get myself to do it. Right? I know what to do. I just can't get myself to follow through. And so much of that has to do with the beliefs that we have in our unconscious mind that are holding us back, that we often don't even know are there. And then the second part of it is how we're talking to ourselves, what everybody calls your mindset. It's really the questions that you ask yourself, what you're focusing on in your mind, and how you're holding your body, right? So we're going to talk about all of that and how to use it to your advantage, right? So that you can take fear, FEAR, which for me personally used to stand for F everything and run. Right? I had so much anxiety, so much pressure, and at times that anxiety rears its ugly head again. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and he was surprised that I was posting and making a video about how I would struggle and how I would have massive amounts of pressure and just crazy amounts of insecurity and not insecurity, but just uncertainty, right, of what's going to happen next, because there's something wrong with me. And I say that with love, but there's something wrong with me because no matter where I'm at, I'm always trying to push the needle and take it to the next level. No matter what mountain I climb, I'm always finding the next biggest mountain, and I'm like, now I'm going to get up that one. Now, if I would have just chilled out and relaxed and enjoyed what I would have, my accomplishments in the past and all the mountains that I have climbed, and stood at the summit and yay and celebrated, everything would be fine. I even retired at one point because I had made enough money and I had created enough results and I had hit so many of the things on my bucket list. But then there's something inside of me that said, no, you got to keep helping people. You got to make a bigger difference. And for me, it's, there's still so much needless emotional suffering. There's more people suffering. I got to go help them. Right. Or the personal development industry is really struggling right now. The skills that we're using to help people get results are so minimal and so lacking. I mean, you can be in therapy for 20 years and not really ever get any better. And I've got skills and tools using our One Belief Way method that are just miraculous. And so I got to teach people how to use this. Therapists, counselors, life coaches, hypnotherapists, healers, anybody in the people helping profession, in the personal development profession. There's something inside of me that says, go help them grow their business so they can extend their reach, give them better tools so that they can produce miraculous results for their clients, right? So that everybody is creating a more fulfilling life experience. That creates joy for me. It's also almost like a curse because I can't not do it, right? I can't just stop and relax and enjoy my life. I have to keep serving. It's how I'm wired. I've got to keep adding value. I've got to keep finding ways to inspire others. That's how I feel fulfilled. You know, as Tony Robbins said, the secret to living is giving. And this is how I give, right? This is how I do this, by showing up and training when I don't need to. And sometimes I don't even want to, but I show up anyway because I know it's needed and it's necessary. And maybe you're struggling right now. And so I'm making this message for you. I'm making this video for you so that I can help you to get through the stuff that you're challenging or that you're going through. But I want you to know that every time I pick a bigger mountain, then all of a sudden all the challenges and all the adversity shows up, right? So now, you know, I at a point I was financially totally secure and everything was good. Then I made all these big moves, and then the pandemic came and knocked out most of my business, and then I had to reinvent myself. And now all of a sudden I'm like, uh-oh, I'm in the same situation I was many years ago, where now I've got to build back up. Now I've got to keep using the tools and strategies that made me successful. I've got to use them again, right? And so it's like a rags to riches, to rags, not totally rags, but to riches again, you know, and I'm going through that cycle right now as I'm helping other people go through it also. The difference is that I have got to keep all the wisdom, all the strategies, all the learnings, and all the upgraded beliefs that I have spent 35 years acquiring. That's something that can't be taken away. No one can take away your experience. No one can take away your education. No one can take away your skills when you build them up. And so that's why I'm always teaching people to build your skill set, build your belief system, right? And build your ability to to communicate in an influential way, right? To be a master communicator, because educational marketers and influential communicators, what we call influencers, are the ones who make the most amount of money because they add the most value and they have the largest amount of reach. They're reaching more people. The more people you help, the more valuable you become, right? The more value you have, right? And so because I've been pushing these big mountains, I find myself in the same kind of situations as everybody else. And so how do I get through it? How do I find my way up the mountain? How do I get myself to follow through even when I don't want to, even when I sometimes want to hide and not get out of bed? How do I get myself to get out of bed and keep moving forward anyway? How do I keep finding opportunities that might seem invisible, but I keep finding them, or I keep turning nothing and turn it into something? How do I keep doing that? Because that's what people come to me for. They're like, how do you do this? And how can you get me to do this? And so that's why I wanted to talk about today. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around. And if you have any questions, leave me some comments. Okay. So, all right. So how do you see the invisible? First of all, you're always focusing on the kinds of questions that you ask yourself, because the questions you ask yourself determine what your mind focuses on. There's a million different possibilities and potentials out here of what you could focus on. There's so much going on right now in your environment, right? Your body and your brain are noticing everything that's going on inside of you and around you, but you're only paying attention consciously to maybe 7 different things that are happening around you, because to try to focus on all of that, you wouldn't be able to focus on anything, right? It would cause you to have a lot of, you wouldn't even be able to function, right? Imagine like noticing all at once, you know, what the smells are around you, what you're tasting in your mouth right now, how your big toe on your left foot feels, right? What's going on outside this room, what's going on inside of this room, the temperature in the room, you know, how your butt is feeling in the seat right now. I mean, those are just a handful of the information. You're breathing, how fast you're breathing, or if you're holding your breath, how fast your heart's beating. There are so many bits of information that are flowing around you. In fact, they say that we're bombarded with like 1 million bits of information every second. Now, your brain can only handle about 100,000 bits of that. And so it's constantly just deleting stuff, distorting stuff, generalizing stuff. Most of it is just deleting it out of your awareness, because it's like, it's not relevant right now. You know, how my big toe is feeling, right? It's not relevant right now, what's going on outside of me. And so your brain deletes that stuff. Well, there's all kinds of possibilities of what you could put your attention on. And so if you are focusing on what's not working, what's going wrong, who's unhappy with you in your life, what you're afraid might happen to you, right? You might be rejected, you might be humiliated, you might be abandoned. People might not like your stuff, they might not like you. If we're paying attention to that kind of information, it quickly becomes our reality. It quickly becomes the story, and we think it's the story. Like, not a version of the story, not a version of the truth, not our subjective interpretation of the situation, but we think it's actually reality. this is reality. I'm dealing in facts. No, we're dealing in perceptions, right? We're dealing in our own version of the truth, and that version of the truth is being filtered by the beliefs that we have in our unconscious mind and the questions that we're asking ourselves every moment of the day. And so what we want to do is we want to upgrade our beliefs, and we want to improve the questions that we ask ourselves, because then that will improve what your brain pays attention to. Then in life, there are opportunities and there are challenges and problems, and what you focus on expands and becomes your reality. So if all you focus on are problems and what's not working and what you're upset about, then that is going to take over your life. And if all you focus on is finding the next solution and the next breakthrough and the next learning and the next person that can help you fill in the gaps and the missing pieces, then that's going to become your life. What road do you want to go down? Right? And so we've got to make sure that we are continually focusing on using questions. I call them power questions, to upgrade our beliefs and to redirect our attention onto what we want to find. Because whatever you look for enough, you're going to find. So we've got to make sure that we're asking power questions versus what I call lousy questions. So lousy questions, examples would be, what if this doesn't work out? Well, immediately your brain starts playing scenarios in your mind, worst case scenarios, like, well, then, I'm going to run out of time, or I'm going to run out of money, or I'm going to run out of love, or people are going to humiliate me. And then I'm going to be a loser. And then, it's going to be awful. And I'm going to end up in a corner all by myself and no one will care. Right. We really will run those horrible stories in our mind if we allow our mind to go in that direction. So when we ask ourselves questions like, what if it doesn't work out? What if I try really hard and it doesn't matter? I mean, that's like learned helplessness, right? When we're telling ourselves a story that I can work really, really hard and it won't matter, I'm going to end up in pain anyway. That's learned helplessness, right? That's when we feel like we don't have any control. We're not smart enough. We're not talented enough. We're not resourceful enough. We're not good enough. And that's the belief that sabotages people more than anything else, that I'm not good enough. And because I'm not enough, I won't be able to figure this out no matter what I do. That becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because when you are telling yourself that no matter what you do, it's never going to be good enough, then that becomes your reality. Who wants to show up and put forth effort if you are convinced that it's not going to matter anyway? Right? That's why people have prosperity seeds. They won't put them in the ground because they're convinced that the seeds aren't going to grow, even if they prepare the field and put them in the ground and water them. And if you have that belief, then you won't even try. And that's why if so many people procrastinate and get overwhelmed and feel stuck, because their deepest fear that is not going to matter, because I'm not worthy of it. I don't deserve it. It's not going to work out for me anyway. And so what do we do in that situation? Well, we pay attention to those questions we're asking ourselves. So if you're asking yourself lousy questions like, what if it doesn't work out? Right? What if I put all this energy in and it doesn't matter anyway? What if I do all these things and people don't like me? Right? Well, I've found that if your belief is that you're afraid of others' opinions of you and you're afraid of being rejected, it's because you're rejecting yourself. You're judging yourself, right? If you're assuming that other people aren't going to like you, it's because you're not being kind to yourself. You're not liking yourself. And so what we have inside of us is what we see on the outside of us. Perception is projection, right? Wayne Dyer used to say that if you squeeze an apple, what comes out? Apple juice is what comes out. Why? Because that's what's inside the apple, right? Whatever's inside of you, when life squeezes you, that's what comes out, right? So what's inside of you? Well, whatever comes out. So fear, anger, shame, guilt, stress, right? If that's what's inside of you, then that's what you're going to project onto the world. If you have love and peace and confidence and you expect that people are going to love you and people are going to value what you have to offer, the right people, the ones who you're looking for anyway, not everybody. There's going to be critics out there. I have plenty of critics who don't like me, don't like my hair or lack of, right? That don't like what I'm talking about. I use this example all the time, but I made a video once about self-love and loving yourself. And the first comment was someone giving me a thumbs down. That's not a reflection of me. That's a reflection of what's going on inside of them. And so we want to make sure that we are recognizing that That the more you develop what's going on inside of you, and the more you build that love and that acceptance and that confidence and that sense of peace, then the more you're going to attract other people who are going to honor that inside of you. You've got to turn your light on. And if people don't like it, you've got to shine even brighter, because then eventually they'll go away, and then you'll find and attract the people that are right for you, that are good for you, into your life. Okay, so we pay attention to the questions that we ask ourselves. And notice the statements that we make just off the cuff. You know, the only luck I have is bad luck. How come things never work out for me? Right? Those comments are coming from beliefs that need to be upgraded. So you got to ask yourself, if you make one of those comments, get out a piece of paper, do a little journaling, ask yourself, what would I have to believe in order to feel this way? What would I have to believe about myself, about others, about the kind of world that I live in order to feel like the only luck I have is bad luck? Because of course that's false, right? If you woke up this morning, you're a pretty lucky person, right? If you could walk around, right, today, you're a pretty lucky person, because there's plenty of people out there that aren't able to even walk, right? Gratitude has become a survival strategy for me for most of my life, focusing on what I'm grateful for, focusing on what I have accomplished, focusing on what I have gotten through in order to get to this point that I'm at right now. I mean, how many situations have you been through that you thought, I'm never going to get through this? How am I ever going to get through this? And then you did, right? But we don't celebrate that enough. What we focus on is, yeah, I climbed that mountain. I climbed all those mountains, but I haven't climbed this one, and I haven't climbed the other ones. And other people have climbed those mountains and I haven't. How come I haven't been able to do it and they have? And they're younger than me. What's wrong with me? Right? And then again, that's another lousy question. What's wrong with me? Instead of asking yourself, what's right with me? What is it about me that can actually allow me to show up so that I can go climb that next mountain, regardless of what other people are doing? Because it's not between you and other people anyway. It's between you and you. It's between you and the mountain, right? That's the only reason why you're doing this, is because it helps you grow it, because it helps you become stronger. It helps you become wiser. It helps you become more resilient and more resourceful. That's why you climb. That's why we are climbers. That's why we find mountains, right? So that we can become the best version of ourselves. So we start asking ourselves power questions. All right, power questions would be, well, what do I want to have happen? How do I want things to go? Right? What resources do I have? Who can I lean on for support? What resources am I lacking, and who has those resources that I can get to train me, right? Or that I can learn from them so that I can get those resources as well, right? What if it does work out and it's finally that big breakthrough I've been looking for? I got to find out, right? So we turn fear, which was F everything and run, right? Or finding excuses and reasons to procrastinate. Instead, we turned it into feeling excited and ready. Or what Zig Ziglar said, finding evidence and rising to the occasion, right? We're going to take those butterflies and we're going to make them fly in formation. We're going to take that fear and we're going to channel it into action. We're going to find out. And I tell you, everybody that I've ever talked to that said I was afraid to do something, and then they went and they did it, they always felt proud of themselves. They always felt better. They always had a breakthrough. They always realized that it wasn't as big and scary as they thought it was. It's like the monster in the closet. You know, you're terrified that there's a monster in the closet. So you decide that you got to open the closet door and find out, and your hands shaking and you're breathing heavy and you feel like you're going to pass out. You finally get to the door handle, and then 3, 2, 1, you throw the door open, you turn the light on, and there's nothing there. And that's how it is for most of the fears that we have. It's the buildup and the anticipation, but when you actually go through the door, there's nothing there. People say, I'm afraid I'm going to open this closet door and then I'll never be able to close it again. And that's not the case. I've never had that happen even one time. We open the closet door and there's either nothing there or there's something there, but we resolve it and we give it a new meaning. We change the belief around the situation. And I have found that it doesn't matter what people have gone through. If you change the meaning of it, if you change the belief that goes with that situation, it frees you from the situation. It allows you to take your mess and turn it into a message. It allows you to take your pain and channel it into purpose. It allows you to take a bad day and turn it into a better day. It allows you to find new meaning again, or to reinvent yourself, regardless of what you've been through. And I've worked with people that have been through the worst stuff imaginable, and they were able to find a way through it and become stronger as a result of it. That's why we have phrases like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, because it's true. So we start using new questions to focus on a new possibility, to find new beliefs that we can start to reinforce and become a new set of filters in our brain. So if you have a belief that nothing ever works out for you, you're going to act a certain way. If you have a belief that things always work out for you and you're the luckiest person you know, and luck and prosperity just finds you everywhere you go, then you're going to show up in a new way. You're going to notice new possibilities. You're going to take advantage of new opportunities, right? You're going to make new connections. You're going to reach out to people. You're going to have all kinds of opportunities. I was talking to a guy that called up today, and he tried to get into our Practice Amplifier program, and it didn't go through. And so he decided that he was going to call because he really wanted to attend. And so he just wanted to make sure that we knew he wanted to be there. And so he was building up the courage, and finally he called. And then I answered the phone, right? And he was all excited because I answered the phone, right? Because usually you don't get to talk to the person that's running the seminars. You got to talk to their people. But I like to answer the phone because I like talking to people. I don't want to hide. My whole purpose is to talk to people and help people. And so I talk to people all the time. I'm not the speaker on stage who they leave the conference after their talk and you never see them again. I always come out afterwards, shaking hands, signing books, things like that. I love that because I get to hang out with people and give them extra tips and strategies. It fuels me, right? And so I like answering the phone. So I answered the phone. He was all excited that I answered, and I was just really complimenting him that he had the courage to call, because he could have tried to run that card. It wouldn't have gone through, and then he would have just given up and not showed up. That's what a lot of people do. Oh, it must be a sign. Must be a sign that I'm not supposed to do this, right? But he's like, no, it's not a sign. It's just there was a glitch, and I'm going to go figure it out. I'm going to call, and then he did, and then we had a great conversation, and he was all excited about showing up on Wednesday for our 3-day mastery class, our Practice Amplifier program. If you haven't heard about that, you should go to practiceamplifier.com right now and register. So it's Wednesday through Friday. I have a lot of people that say that, I'm too busy. And I always find that humorous, because you're not too busy to learn how to fine tune your mindset, your skill set, and your marketing systems, right? Or maybe you're busy, but you won't be as productive as you could be. The tools that I'm teaching during that 3-day program are your compass. They're your navigational equipment. It's like getting in a plane or in a ship, taking off and saying, I'm too busy to look at my navigational equipment. I'm too busy to look at my compass. Well, you're probably going to end up in a different port, somewhere that you didn't want to go to. You could only be 3 degrees off. You wouldn't even notice it, but you'll notice it, 50 miles down the road when you end up somewhere you didn't want to end up. And so the most successful people are always making time in their schedule to go to trainings, to go to masterminds, to develop themselves. And they're all very busy, but they know that they've got to improve their compass, right? They got to improve their mindset, their skill set, their marketing systems, and find their blind spots, find those limiting beliefs, and upgrade them so that they can take their success to the next level. People who are too busy for that usually are very busy, but they're not really getting anywhere. Right? They're still struggling financially. They're still struggling on how to get more clients. They don't have automated systems. They're not reaching as many people or the right people, right? So they end up struggling. And it's unfortunate because it's often very talented people who are struggling with that. And that's why I put together this program for those people, right? So if you are a therapist, a healer, a life coach, a hypnotherapist, a nutritionist, acupuncturist, a holistic physician, anybody in the people helping profession, and you want to grow your practice, you want to amplify your practice, go to practiceamplifier.com, www.practiceamplifier.com. Get your ticket. It's a 3-day event. It's going to be extraordinary. It's only $48 for the whole time, for the whole 3 days. It's really an amazing experience. So, all right, so let's get back to what we were talking about. So again, pay attention to what you're saying to yourself, because those questions that you ask yourself and those statements that you make in your mind are revealing the unconscious beliefs that are driving the reticular activating system in your brain. It's causing you to notice or not notice the opportunities that are in front of you, right? So my brain, I'm constantly telling myself, even sometimes when I don't feel it or I don't believe it, or I'm looking around and it doesn't seem to be the case, I am still speaking with the future in my voice. I'm still saying what I want to have happen. I'm still focusing on the outcome that I want and how I can go towards that outcome, not what's happened in the past. I use the past as lessons and learning so I make better decisions in the present. But I'm really focusing on where I'm headed and how to close that gap between where I am and where I'm headed. How do I close that gap every day? And so I'm paying attention to my questions and I'm focusing on who can I reach out for support? Who knows something that I need to learn more? And how can I get them to share that with me, right? What new relationship can I create? Who can I reach out to collaborate with? What other support do I need, right? And before, I used to look at that as a weakness. I used to feel like that was a weakness, right? That, oh, it's not going to be good. I don't want people to know that I'm struggling. And now I realize that that's silly. The weakness was hiding and not asking for help. So now I use it as strength, right? If I need help with something, I reach out for support. I'm not hiding by myself. I'm reaching out to everybody I know to figure out who can help me to close that gap between where I am and where I want to be. And of course, I'm helping others as well, because givers gain, right? I'm not just showing up with a handout saying, help me, rescue me, save me. I'm focusing on here. I want to have an exchange. How can I help you too? What can we do to win together? Right? So pay attention to the questions that you ask yourself. Pay attention to the statements that you're making. If they are lousy questions, turn them into power questions. What if this was easy? What if I was the luckiest person in the world? What if everything I do does work out? What next move would I make? What big, bold move would I make? If I already had $1 million in my bank account, what would be my next move that I would make, right? That would move the needle in my business. Maybe I would take that 3 days and go to the Practice Amplifier program and invest in that. It's only from 8 to 2 Pacific time, and it will help you so much. And then, of course, as you're upgrading your power questions and you're upgrading the questions you ask yourself, you keep upgrading those beliefs as well, so that your mind is actively looking for opportunities that other people wouldn't see because they're asking lousy questions, or they have limiting beliefs, or they simply are not taking action on the opportunities that they have because they don't feel like it's going to work anyway. And so we do the opposite. We focus on what we want. We imagine what we want. We hold our body with energy in a way that allows us to keep moving forward no matter what, because at the end of the day, that's what everybody says. Keep going. That's the only way to ultimately win. You have to find a way to keep yourself going. So you move your body in that way. If you're feeling totally stressed, go for more walks. Go for walks every day, and that will help you. It'll help you shake off the tension so you can redirect your focus on what you want. You can keep telling yourself what you need to believe, be your own best friend. If you don't know how to do that, then you need to show up for the Practice Amplifier program, because my One Belief Away techniques are going to help you to become your own best friend instead of your own worst enemy. And then by focusing on what we want, being reassuring of ourselves and supportive of ourselves, and then upgrading our beliefs and holding our body in a more empowering way is going to help you to start finally making that progress, so that you start taking action, put those prosperity seeds in the ground. That's the only way they can grow. Remember, your biggest breakthroughs are hiding in the places you don't want to go, and you're just one belief away from having a huge breakthrough in your life. So let's step up. Let's start journaling, start writing down the questions you're asking yourself, those statements, those side statements that you're saying underneath your breath, or that you yell out when you're really feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Write that down. Start asking yourself, what do I want to believe instead? What do I want to believe instead? What would be a better question to ask? Coach yourself in this way, and then start taking action in that direction. And as you do, you will find yourself finally starting to attract those breakthroughs that you desire. So I hope this helps. Thanks so much for being a part of this today. I'll see you at Practice Amplifier, practiceamplifier.com. Talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.